Hi guys, welcome to episode 10 of the Sell Your Service podcast. I'm Mike Killen, and this week I am joined by Phil Yarnell from Smay Design. The graphic design credits to Phil's name, he's a graphic designer, are absolutely bonkers. He's worked for the Jimi Hendrix family, for the Janis Joplin estate, AC/DC, tons of other rock bands. He is a graphic designer and has been working predominantly in the music industry for a long time. What I really like about Phil, my biggest takeaway, is that he doesn't consider himself a business-headed type guy, but he still runs a very successful graphic design agency. Phil is also giving away a copy of the DVD box set of the Midnight Special, which is a TV show from the 70s. If you don't know it, then your parents certainly should. He did the packaging and the graphic design work for the box set. And we're just going to ask you to get involved in the comments below. In the meantime, let's just jump straight into it. This is a great podcast. Phil Yarnell, everybody. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Sell Your Service podcast. I'm Mike Killen, as always. Today, I'm here with Phil Yarnell. Phil, how are you doing?
Doing awesome.
Awesome. So, for those who don't know, obviously there's going to be a ton of links in the blog below about Phil's work and stuff. Would you mind giving us a brief overview of what it is that you do?
Well, I'm a graphic designer. I've been working in the music industry for, it's scary, like more than 20 years now.
There's a bit of memorabilia behind you as well.
Yeah, there's a little bit of stuff back there. I just got a little Hendrix, I think it's a platinum album back there. But I do all the work, design and branding for the Hendrix family now. Well, basically, I run my own studio. I work from home, which is kind of a nice leisurely thing. Well, not leisurely necessarily. It gets a little nuts.
No.
And it's awesome. I get to work with everyone from Hank Williams and AC/DC to Janis Joplin, Jimi Hendrix.
That's awesome.
Queen, and I mean, really, I've worked with pretty much every genre of music, packaging, and then I've also branched out beyond music into books and posters and logos and you name it.
Before we kind of get into the heavy stuff, Phil has very kindly sponsored a prize, which is the anniversary set of the... there we go, the Midnight Special. Awesome. Which you designed, right?
It's metallic holographic foil.
That's epic.
Which is really, really... It's looking really trippy on the screen.
Yeah.
But that's a 7 DVD set of amazing live performances of pretty much everyone who was anyone in the 70s played on that. Everyone from, like, funk bands to AC/DC and Ted Nugent to John Denver and, you name it.
Well, I was going to say, if anyone watching this doesn't know who those people are, either your folks will or get on YouTube and get educated. We were kind of having a conversation. I think the two biggest things that came up is we actually got connected over LinkedIn. And first of all, one of the things that became apparent is you said, the music industry, not only graphic design within the music industry, but what you've seen has changed greatly. And also, you don't consider yourself a business-headed kind of guy. Why did you turn to graphic design then?
Well, when I started out, in high school, I wanted to, when I got into music, I was a bit of a late bloomer when it came to getting into music. And once I did, it was just like all I wanted to do. And I'd always been very artistic and drawing and keeping sketchbooks all the time. Yeah. And it just seemed like the logical step. And then, I got into college and I was, sort of in the top of my class in design. And, it just kind of made sense. Got out of school and went to New York, and the guy that had actually used to teach at my college, which is the Tyler School of Art in Philadelphia. Yeah. He had designed physical graffiti for Led Zeppelin and Some Girls for the Stones.
Okay.
And he gave me my first job, and I just remember when I collected my first check from this freelance job, it was like $1,400, and I remember I cashed the check, and I had this huge wad of cash stuffed it in my cowboy boot, walking down Broadway, and on this beautiful sunny day, I was just like, this is just too awesome, and I can do this. And I just kind of took it from there, and I got a job at a record company, and then about 3.5 years after that, I started I started my company with a business partner who I had for a while.
Okay.
And,
so because when you leave a big company, I'm seeing this a lot myself, and I'm sure a lot of the guys watching this are in the same position. How do you kind of go about finding customers as soon as you leave a big company?
The nice thing about the record company and the whole record industry is it's very, I guess you could say, incestuous almost. Everybody just moves around, and everyone gets connected. And I made a lot of really good connections.
Okay, yeah.
And actually, one of the things about me, I've always been really easy to work with. And this one guy who's a big VP, basically the guy that invented the box set, and he did not like working with like a whole chain of command where you talk to the head of this department who talks to this art director who talks to this person. He liked to just sit down with me and get what he wants, and that's what I gave him. And then I left the company, and he just started sending work my way, and it was great. Then I went into doing a Velvet Underground box set for him.
That's cool. So it sounds like you kind of brought one up there. What would you say the biggest challenges with graphic design, if you take it as a whole thing, particularly running a graphic design business?
Well, it's definitely hustling to get enough work is always tough, especially these days.
Yeah.
Honestly, I think there are a lot of out-of-work designers.
Yeah.
A lot of companies have downsized and closed their creative departments, which in a way, in the past, has kind of worked well for me because, I know a lot of people at all the labels, and they know that I can kind of crank something out fast and good with minimal problems. I mean, early on, one of the things that I was doing was fixing problems, jobs that other people screwed up, and I found that making myself invaluable to someone really kind of cranks up my value.
See, that's awesome. You said, I'm not a business person, but that's an amazing process for you to say, I need this person to understand that I can solve their problems.
No, it's all about problem solving.
And then they just keep coming back to you, right?
Yeah, you make yourself, they're easy to work with, go-to guy. And I mean, I know people that basically were such a pain in the butt that they were just not worth the headache.
Yeah.
And that was, that ended up turning into, those early people I worked with have all sort of spiderwebbed out into a nice network. I mean, that first guy at Polygram Records, he hooked me up with this guy that was just starting out with the Hendrix family, because the Hendrix family won their court case and gained the rights to the whole catalog. And he liked what I did, boom, and I've been working with them since '95, I think. And
I think that just shows the strength that people would rather work with people that they like over. I think that comes first, and then the product.
Yeah. It definitely helps to be easy to deal with.
Yeah, definitely.
And, I know there's a lot of people out there, and I see, you see the way people are in some of the comment threads on LinkedIn and whatnot, and some of these people, for me, it's just like, oh my God, you're just way too much of a designer. I know, I can't see you. I know you're wearing a black turtleneck. Your M & Company tape dispenser and your jet black on black ruler, and it's just like, you can't see it, but the rest of this room is just an unholy mess, right?
Yeah.
But I know where it is, and I know what I'm supposed to be doing.
Yeah. No, I mean, so I work from home as well. I've just got an office, and I've got a designer and developer who work with me, and it's weird. I always thought people are never going to take me seriously, but actually, ultimately, people don't care as long as they get what they need, and you're, like you say, an easy person to get on with. Problem solved, right?
Yeah,
what would you say the biggest myth is around graphic design? Because I've seen this skyrocket in people calling themselves graphic designers, and it seems to be, if you own a pirated copy of Photoshop, there you go, you're a graphic designer.
That's the problem, and that's that ends up making more possibilities for me, because a lot of people still don't understand a lot of the basics. And I think one of the myths is that, I think people don't realize how challenging it is to solve visual problems and that sort of thing. Because a lot of times, you know, I mean, my wheels are always turning, and you know, I'll get a project and I'll come up with a couple ideas right off the bat, and I mean, more than half the time you toss all those first ideas and you want to dig deeper and find the things that really kind of start making these connections on deeper levels. And it's just not as easy as I think people assume. You know, some people are like, oh, just run it through the computer and shoot it. And so like,
put a filter on it, right? Problem solved. Yeah.
I mean, granted, I do tend to work pretty fast. I've gotten to that point, but I have to be because right now it's just me. Like I said, I had a partner for about 16 years, but things went a little south on that.
Sure.
We'll touch on that later if you want.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's I forget where I was going there, but
you're saying hey, you have to work pretty fast.
Yeah. I mean, it's because a lot of times, you know, I'll get swamped and I'll have like 5 CD packages to work on in a week.
Yeah.
You know, so you know, I'm up late, I'm working, I'm doing what I have to do to get it done, and I tend to work better with a little extra pressure too.
Also, I don't think if you say you work fast, I mean, usually I've got a very stringent process, literally a series of steps, and I think that was the first thing that I found really shocking is the number of people who are designers and they go, I don't really have a process. I'm like, I don't know how you can't have that. I don't know how you can't have a series of steps that you need to go through to get the result. Like, that terrifies me, and some people don't, and they still produce incredible results. But ultimately, if you make it look easy, that's when people go, oh, it's easy then, and I can call myself a designer.
It's kind of like on Star Trek when Scotty's always like saying, you know, you can't get to full power for 2 days, and it's like you got 45 minutes.
Yeah.
Sometimes you make it seem a little harder than it is. You know?
Absolutely. That's a really good point. But a friend of mine, he said he was having a customer really hammer him about saying, oh, what does this website do? What does this website do? So I said, look, go ahead and write out a list of every single thing that you do and that you have done over the past 5 years to get to this point. And sure enough, it was like 4 A4 pages. And he was like, this is what I do and this is what you are paying for. You don't pay for the tiny little 250 by 250 JPEG. There's a ton of stuff that comes before that, you know?
Yeah, definitely. There's, I mean, I have a certain process, and you know, I'm always kind of collecting different things to work with and that sort of thing. But I have kind of just a real gut reaction to something. You know, I get a project. I was working on a guy's flamenco music CD, so I put on the music and I was getting very into it and researching it. You know, and you know, I think I'm cranking up some good stuff. But a lot of times you also, you know, you get that stuff and you send it off and they're like, I'm not seeing anything here for me yet, and you're like, you can't take it personally, you got to just that and turn that, you know, feedback into positive energy going in the other direction.
Absolutely. I think that's something that people who are starting out or maybe have been doing it a long time and then have to do it by themselves, that's the hardest thing, saying, look, this is not personal, but also sometimes customers don't make it easy, and I'm like, what don't you like about it? Well, you know, I need more than that.
Yeah. That's a tough part. I mean, sometimes people are really specific about what they want and what they need, and that's fine. But other times when it's wide open, that can be really good or really bad, because then sometimes you'll end up just cranking stuff out. And actually, best example was I was doing a package for a guy, and he was giving me absolutely no positive direction on this, and he's just like, well, just Google cool album design, and along those lines. And I'm like, I was just, I mean, literally grinding my teeth and like clenching my fists. And like, okay, I gotta back up, you know. And then that's when you step back, you go out, you walk the dog, you get out in the woods, turn off your phone, and you let your head reset a little. And that's, I find, when I'm not sitting in front of the computer, that's when a lot of the ideas really start to flow. Yeah,
no, that's a spot. In fact, I'm going to jot that down because that's a really good point.
It's vital. I mean, when we got a dog, I was a little nervous. I was like, you know, I'm going to end up being the guy walking this dog all the time. But it ended up being like the best thing, because I get out away from the computer every day, and I'm in better shape than I've been in a while now, so that
Good
works.
stuff. What do you tell people that you do? When someone says, "Hey, Phil, what do you do?"
Well, yeah, it's funny. I talk to my kids about this because they need to understand what Dad does.
Yeah.
Because you always end up, also like you end up at a wedding or something, and they're, well, I'm in finance. And,
Yeah.
It's I've distilled it down. The shortest possible thing is I make things look cool.
Yeah, that's good.
I mean, and I mean, it comes down to that. I mean, people like things that look cool.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't want to have something that you don't want to look at.
Yeah.
And that's what I do. But I mean, it goes deeper than that. I mean, I do solve problems and I make connections between concepts for people, and that's,
But it's very difficult to get. You don't have 20 minutes to tell someone what you do. But when you say something like, "I make things look cool," the first thing that I want to say is, "All right, how do you do that?" And that's when you can start, going into like,
Right.
yeah,
Right. I mean, it's people. I say I do album packaging, and it's like, well, you draw the covers, and it's like, nah, you don't really draw the. I mean, if you're in illustrating, yeah, I suppose.
Yeah.
But you're taking stuff. Sometimes you're creating the logo. You're taking the photo. You're treating the photo.
Yeah.
Combining that, and then you're bringing everything together, and kind of, it's kind of like in a weird way. I always wanted to be in a band. I had a few bands, and this.
Excellent.
But I didn't have enough solid musical talent,
Right.
so this is my way of sort of making music. I'm like,
Yeah.
take this part of this, and everything kind of comes together into that one.
There's of the, I don't know, 10 people that we've now interviewed so far, I'd say 6 of them at least have got some kind of musical background or liked being in music. And the thing that keeps coming up again and again and again is all of these things have some kind of process or a baseline that you need to work with that allows you to be creative and do stuff that's like kind of weird with what you've got.
Right.
I kind of like, I used to be a chef. That's the closest I can equate it to.
Right.
No one's.
That's my number spot on things I'd like to do. I think so.
Yeah.
I'd like. I cook around here. That's my thing as well.
Okay. Cool. What's an average day for you then?
Average day, it's like, get up, deal with getting the kids out.
Yeah.
Here, I sit down. I just got to figure out what's the hottest thing on my plate. I'm real. Like I said, I'm not a business guy, and I'm not the most organized person. But I have my little Moleskine book here, and it's just full of ideas and sketches and
That's
just
awesome.
lists of. And I have literally hundreds of these things, and then you get these lists of stuff that you got to do.
Epic.
And then it's just like, okay, once you can start crossing stuff off the list, that's the, and you get that accomplishment, you're like, okay, now I'm going to go out and have a nice lunch with a couple beers and then come back and do my thing. And then a lot of times I'll end up working, I have till about 3 o'clock when the kids get home, then I got to hang out, walk the dog, make dinner, they go to bed, and then I start my second shift, and I'll work for like an hour or two, depending on how inspired I am. But I tend to be a little more inspired at night, and I don't get calls, so I can kind of just focus, and it's nice because then I just put the music on, turn it up, and have my dark room and do my thing.
No, I know exactly, particularly when it's almost annoying when you've got that moment of clarity or inspiration, because you can see the clock getting on and you're like, I can't go to sleep because this is just going to disappear. If I don't get it down, it's going to go,
that happens to me like every night.
That sounds like a living nightmare, I'm gonna be honest.
It's crazy, a lot of times I'll be laying in bed and I'll actually get out of bed to come down and write something or just, do a tiny little sketch or whatever, just so I have it, so it doesn't get washed away.
Like as a prompt or something,
Yeah, it's and that's that's when another spot when a lot of really solid ideas happen for me is that right before you drift off to sleep. And
I was talking to Dan Shaw, who's a search engine optimization specialist. He's one of the podcasts, and he said, I think he called it the shower principle, where the moment where you're distracted. He said going to sleep, and I think he said playing sport as well. Yeah. When you're distracted, all of a sudden something comes to you, and then you're like, ah, I've got to get it down.
Yep. I'm always, like I said, I have little sketchbooks and stuff like that. This little guy I designed.
That's cool.
My psychedelic skull. And I just always try to have something where I can write or sketch something.
Awesome.
Because you never know.
Yeah, no, I know what you mean. Yeah, I mean, what did you want to be as a kid?
As a kid, I mean, I think before I got into music and art, I think I wanted to be a cook.
Yeah.
And then I got into music. I remember a friend of mine came over and brought a stack of vinyl and played the Clash London Calling for me, and the Specials and Elvis Costello, and I was just like, I was set. It was weird. I didn't even get into Zeppelin until I was in college, and
that's mad.
Yeah, I know, it's weird, but then I had my band I had a band in high school. I had one in college, and then we studied in Italy in Rome, and formed a folk band in our studio in Rome.
Awesome.
So this is good stuff. But as a kid, I always wanted to do something creative. Just seemed to make sense to go in this direction.
Fun fact about Zeppelin: my stepfather, he's the most British. He was a bank manager. He's the most British bank manager you can imagine. He was their bank manager, and he used to go to their gigs and stuff. Stood there in a suit, totally uninterested because it certainly wasn't his scene. And I was like, how do you not have more stuff from theirs? He's like, it's loft or something somewhere. I'm like, this is insane. Like, I don't know how you haven't kind of collected all this stuff,
Yeah, the guy that gave me my first job, who designed physical graffiti and that stuff that I was mentioning, he's an amazing guy, and like, I remember going to his apartment, and like, you go into his bathroom, there's like little Polaroids tacked up of him winning a Grammy for an album package or this and that, little pictures of Zeppelin sitting on train tracks, and he's got all kinds of crazy sketchbooks and ideas, and it's just really great to be connected to someone.
Definitely. Yeah, absolutely. Like, bringing into that, when did you discover graphic design then?
Well, I was in high school. I was in an advanced art course. I was actually the first kid at my age that they let into like the honors art class.
Wow,
and
cool.
I had this great high school teacher who just was like gunning for me and got me, got me into places, and I walked around there, and it just, I was kind of walking the line between fine art and graphic design in college, and because when you start out, you're doing some of everything, so you can get a taste and figure out what you want.
Right.
And I was the guy that didn't quite look like a designer. I looked more like a painter. I was just all ripped jeans and spiky hair, and all the designers were charcoal gray turtlenecks and and all
berets.
That.
I want to say berets.
Yeah, they were all. And all the painters look like they're all walking around smoking. Looks like they haven't been in a shower in a week. Yeah. People never suspected that I was a designer, but it ended up that way. It's nice to mess with appearances.
Yeah, particularly like one of the things that I've noticed a lot of people have to contend with is it's now almost gone the other way, and I try to say to my web designer customers, I was like, just trust me when I say put on a shirt, because at the moment every single web designer is wearing loose fitting tops and skinny jeans. I guarantee you that if you turn up in a shirt and a decent pair of shoes, you'll get the job hands down, because not only do you look completely different from every other web designer, but no one's going to see it coming. No one sees that coming,
Right. No, that's definitely. It's always a weird thing when I go out, but I find a good Ramones t-shirt goes a long way for me.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I'm going to wear it today, but it's in the wash.
That's all right. We'll forgive that. What about when you're not working? If that happens.
It actually does happen. I like to try to travel as much as I can, but we haven't been getting about. I love going down the Costa Rica and the Virgin Islands and that neck of the woods.
Awesome.
But around here, I do a lot of just being outside, dog walking and hiking and camping, and me and my wife build a teepee in our backyard. We have this giant screened-in teepee that you can sleep in, and
that's epic.
Yeah, we do weird stuff like that. And no, right now life is a balance between the wife and kids and doing this, and there's not a huge amount of time for other stuff, but I'm trying to make some time for some new things. I'm actually going to take some cooking classes in the city, and there's actually a letterpress printing class that I want to take.
Cool.
Just to keep on pushing myself and learning some new stuff. It's been a while since I've taken on any big new challenges.
Yeah, I mean, I read on your blog you put one of the points down as learning something new can help you with the creativity or whatever for your current stuff, and I think that's so true.
Oh, definitely.
Because particularly when you're passionate about something and you get ingrained into it, you often can't see the wood for the trees. And if you step outside and go and learn something else, again, I don't know whether it's that shower principle stuff again, or you learn just a little cool new technique and you think, I wonder if I can bring that back to what I do,
Yeah, that's sort of like this cross-pollination thing, and I love trying to do that sort of stuff when I can. And I mean, I remember, like, when I was in college, I took a semester and went to Rome and studied in Rome, and a lot of people were like, nah, I can't do that. It's gonna like bite into my credits and all this, but it was the most important thing I think I've ever done in my life, is just opening yourself to a whole different way of life and perspective, and it just really changed the way I think about things.
And also having stuff not work out as well. If stuff doesn't, the worst that's going to happen is it doesn't work out. But also that's really important, I find, sometimes.
Oh yeah, failure is
it's a huge.
You gotta take that your lemons and make margaritas.
Yeah. Here's your damn lemons. What about coming back to the business? If there's one thing, if I could wave a magic wand, what would you fix about the business?
Man, that's a. Well, I do wish that clients understood more about what is involved in what they have to do, because that's always frustrating when people don't get it. But it's always refreshing when you come across a client who really does get it and goes out of their way to pay you what you deserve.
Yep.
A lot of people don't understand that, and they the prices have budgets on everything have been dropping, which is really sucks, and but there's not much you can do except for make up for that in volume. But that's one thing I wish I wish there was just more of an appreciation for the final product as well.
So I don't know whether this is a good thing or a bad thing. You don't find, as someone with frankly experience and some customers who a lot of the graphic designers watching this would love to have, you don't find that you're able to just kind of throw around your weight and say, look, this is what I do. You've got to trust that.
Right. Oh, you can to some extent,
okay,
but
good.
You got to be careful with that, because you don't want to come off as being a difficult prima donna sort. I really strive to make the client happy. I try to get them what they want, but I also like to give them what I think. I like to get as much of myself in there as I can, and that's the tricky thing, where you're giving them what they want, but sneaking as much of you into it as possible. And that's a whole part of this that it takes a while to learn, but it's that whole selling yourself and selling your ideas, and being able to talk about why you did something. Because I think a lot of people can't necessarily do that. I remember in college starting that, and you would have to critique somebody's stuff on the wall, and it's like, well, what's this? Why did you do this? And back then, it was really hard to do, but now I'm like, I can pretty much reason why I did what I did.
The best analogy I ever heard for that, I was getting a tattoo done, and one of the guys, it was at a university. I was a few years out of it, and one of the students came in, and he said he wanted something tattooed on his wrist, and I could see the tattoo artist just groaning. He was like, I can't do this. And I was like, but that's like going to be a £200 job, isn't it? And he said, yeah, but the problem is that he's a walking portfolio. I don't want him going up to people saying, yeah, I got this done at that place over there.
Yeah.
That's it. He's my work walking around. I literally can't afford to have that kind of quality stuff go out, you know?
But I always make it a point to really try not to show a client something that you would not want seen. It's because I hate to say it, but a lot of times that's the one they're going to pick.
Yeah.
It's like if you're doing stuff and you're taking a look at the things you're going to send them, and it's like, it's just like, that really stinks. Don't show it.
Yeah.
It's just, and then keep it in the back if it starts getting difficult and they want to see more and more and more. It's like, all right. And then if it comes to it and they pick it, you got to be like, all right, you just don't put it on your site if you don't want it. And
well, a couple of things on my site I'm not massively proud of. They do the job well, but I find it really weird when I have customers going, do you know, I really like that site, or they'll send me a site that they like, and I'll look at it and I'll go, how can you possibly like that? That is like watching a seizure on my screen. That's awful.
Yeah, that's never good when people come with just really bad reference or you're like, oh my god, okay, and then how are you going to make that cool?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's just like, it's a polishing a turd.
Yeah, I think this is a really common problem. I think I don't think there's ever going to be a proper solution for it, really.
Yeah, you got to just try to. Yeah, you have to try to educate your client too, on that sort of thing. Yeah. And that's a hard thing to do, but when you can and they get it, that's pretty rewarding.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. Awesome. So next we've got what I call the lightning round. The irony of which, I'm always the one who goes off on tangents because the answer.
I can do the tangent thing, but go ahead.
Epic. Okay, so let's just jump straight into it. What's the first thing that any business that sells graphic design should know?
I don't know about but I know they should know that they should get an accountant.
Nice.
And because a lot of creative people like myself are not particularly business minded.
Yep.
In a way that kind of bit me in the butt a little bit because I had a little falling out with my business partner.
Yeah, do you want to talk about that a bit? We said we were going to mention it.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of weird because a bunch of years back I had I applied to be on Survivor, and I'm still trying.
Yes.
All right, and I'm in the midst of redoing my tape and getting ready to send it out, but he got really, really pissed that I wanted to take off and do this, what he called the vanity project. And and I was like, we have our own company and it's not that busy, you know, and and I was working to get some. Anyway, long story short, he started taking advantage of the fact that he did the accounting for us, and and then I figured it out, and we went to college together, we were in bands together, I was in his wedding party, we lived together. It was kind of crummy when that stuff happens, but I managed to kind of get past it all, and I've actually done some work for him since he left the company. It's tough, but you gotta just keep moving on. But as far as, it's always a good idea to get a real accountant who's looking out for you. And oddly enough, after all that stuff was going down, an accountant called me, just a cold call, looking for work.
No way.
I met with him, and it turns out his kids go to my kid's school, and he's like a really, really nice, good person. And I was like,
how funny.
Awesome, I'm in.
Problem solved. So you're...
And now my wife does the business end of the business, cool, and coordinates with the accountant, so I don't have to do too much heavy lifting there.
No, perfect. No, I'm all about that. Trying to stay away from the stuff that you don't want to do and you're not good at easily. Yeah. What's the most successful way you found customers?
I believe for the most part it's been word of mouth and connections. From my original job, that's pretty much where almost all my connections have come from. It's nice. You do good work, and they're people are gonna hear about it down the line. So that's pretty cool.
No, totally agree with that. How do you stop competing on price?
Well, that's always budgets and prices always a tricky thing, and I kind of have a sliding scale in a way. And some people don't agree with that. You know, I see on LinkedIn a lot of people are like, you know, it's like, no, this is what this costs, and no matter what, that's what it is. And if you can't pay that, I'm not going to do it. I'm like, yeah, but I really want to do that. And you know, I've done work for a distillery doing work, and they were just starting up and didn't have a lot of budget. So, you know, I gave them a deal. I cut my price down on the logo, and it gave me, you know, this X amount of money and a case of vodka.
Cool.
And, you know, so that's kind of nice. And I have another company that that they're kind of like a CSA, kind of like a farm thing where they bring produce and you pick. I do a lot of design for their collateral, and in exchange for that, basically I get a free weekly load of really good fresh organic vegetables.
That's pretty awesome.
And it's nice, you know. And I did a logo for a burger place not too far from here, and now I get like free burgers for life. So at least that's what they tell me.
That would be the end of
really,
my
really
business
good.
then, because I would die.
Yeah, no, the guy that runs the place was on that the Food Network show Chopped, and he won.
Oh, no way!
It's an amazing burger place.
Cool.
In Beacon, New York, so called
Right.
Poppy's.
I'll have to check that out. Yeah. I think when people say this is the price, I'll stick to it. There's a level of that I do agree with, but also I've got like a scorecard, and I kind of work out, frankly, how much I like the customer, how much work I've actually got to do, and also their budget. And these two come into play more than anything. You know, do I like them? Am I going to be communicating with these people on a daily basis? Do I need to go into their offices? And you know, how much work do I actually need to do? If it's a brand new marketing strategy or something, and I know that I'm going to have to do a lot of research and consultation, that's boring stuff. I've got to charge for that. But if it's kind of cool stuff that I want to enjoy doing, you know.
Yeah, I mean, I have, you know, I'll do if I'm doing a logo for some, you know, some young indie musician startup thing, you know, and need to do a logo for them or something, it's going to be probably charged less than what I would charge for like AC/DC or Jimi Hendrix, just because, you know, there's a lot of different little difference in there. But you know, a lot of times that whole thing of how potentially difficult a client is going to be, I've seen a lot of stuff, people talking about that lately. It's sort of the, you know, this sort of little pain in the ass scale.
I might start using that. That's quite good.
No, but I haven't had too much trouble with that lately. Most of my clients have been pretty awesome. We did have a run-in a bunch of years back with a old heavy metal guy, and he was like telling us he wanted a photo from inside a grave looking up. And he's like, well, just go find a graveyard, climb in a grave, and take a photo. Get a camera. And I was just like, jerk about it. And I was just like, oh, really?
That's so good.
It's like, yeah, go climb in an open grave, and you know, it's just like.
Sorry, guys, can I ask you to hold on for 2 ticks just while I hop in this and take a selfie? Is that all right?
Yeah. So it's but you know, I have like a bottom ledge that I don't like to go below on certain kinds of projects. Like on a logo, I don't like to go below here. Yeah. But you know, I'm open to discussions and.
I think the biggest problem that my guys see in regards to pricing is when someone says to you, "Well, my nephew can do it for $200," and my instant reaction is, knock yourself out. Like, I instantly lose interest in the conversation then.
Well, they lack the appreciation for what's being done. They just want it done, and they want it done cheap. And that you know, you see all that stuff with all the crowdsourcing sites and all that stuff, and like, the design contests. And
there was a graphic design blog where the guy did, I think, logos from Fiverr, and he did 3 different ones. One of them he just did as the basic Fiverr. One of them he did through a different crowdsourcing thing. The other one he designed. And finally there was one where he added all the add-ons. Apart from his, all of them had taken logos from either stock imagery or like copyrighted ones and just changed the names. I was like,
I've seen that.
What were you expecting?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, that's where the value of a designer who's educated and has experience
Absolutely.
really becomes evident, because
Totally agree.
you know that's what people should be paying for, is getting that experience and perspective.
Yeah, no, I like that a lot. Bit of a controversial one. This business cards, yes or no?
Definitely, yeah.
Yeah.
Let me see what I got here.
As a designer, I should have guessed, right? Yeah. Oh man, I've been meaning to ask Smay.
Smay.
You even say on your website, if you really want to know what it means, ask me. Tell me.
Okay, all right. In college, when you had to design something, I was the last class at my school before everyone started using computers. So I got out of school with no computer skills.
Excellent.
And which is just bizarre, because I think everybody does now. My son probably knows almost as much as I do.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool. But last night my kids wouldn't go to bed because they're both messing around with Photoshop. And they're 10 and 13. But Smay, so if you're laying out a page for a magazine or something like that, and you want to have all the copy, you would use this Greeking copy that you would rub down.
Yeah.
And but it would just say blah 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 blah, dollar ipsum iridigum, blah, and then the word Smay would pop up. And we always thought, hey, that's pretty cool. And we just liked the sound of the word Smay. And it was like, yeah, we'll start a company, we'll call it Smay. And when you pick up the phone, you just go, Smay. It kind of took people off guard. And I don't know why. It didn't really have a meaning. It's a nonsense word.
No, I like that a lot.
We ran into some problems with that when we tried to set up the business. We had this real pain in the ass guy at City Hall, like, well, you can't have a name for your business that's deceptive to what you do. And so
what?
He was just being really weird, and I was like, it's a printing term. Down and whoop. Okay. But
Smay. Oh, sure.
Yeah, so no, but it was just a word that popped up that had a nice feel to it, and in a way, over the years, I feel like I've kind of sort of defined the word through the work.
Yeah.
And now people, ask me to actually Smayify something.
That's cool.
Or put a little Smay on it.
That's cool.
And I love that I've actually sort of claimed this nonsense word as my own now.
Yeah. No, I like that a lot. I mean, anyone with a business head might call that branding, but
But no, business cards definitely. They're awesome, and I make ones.
You show those again, yeah. The whole.
Well, the backs of them, all the backs are different. I get them printed at Loop.
Yeah.
Like this is the
the
Redneck Rock and Roll Community College. That's cool. From a whole other side of the site that I've done. It's for art licensing, which is
that's cool.
Kind of when the music business was getting slow.
Yeah.
We started looking into other areas, and art licensing. It's a whole other world of design that people can look into, because if there's a lot of people I think out there that want to be designers but are a little more on the fine art edge. Sure. and it's just not a good fit, and it's always awkward when you have when you're trying to critique someone who's you can tell it's like, well, I drew some stuff for the yearbook in high school and this and that, and I really want to be a designer, and it's tough. It's not that easy.
The big thing I notice at the moment is if you have an Instagram account and you are a female, boom, you're a photographer. There you go. Easy.
Yeah, well, I actually do know a few photographers that have an Instagram account.
I love Instagram. I absolutely love Instagram.
I'm actually just getting myself back into it.
Yeah.
And it's been pretty cool. I've discovered some interesting people.
Yeah.
I just discovered a really cool tattoo artist that I'm like,
cool.
Dude, I got to get out to Seattle and get something by you, because you're awesome.
Awesome. That's cool. All right.
Yeah.
This one's... I don't know how you're going to answer this one. I'm interested. How do you convert users who visit your site into customers?
See, this is not my world.
No.
I tend to go after people.
Yeah.
If I find companies that I want to work with, I'll I'll try to find out that person and start sending them stuff.
That's
and
really interesting.
I'm in the middle of doing some promo stuff. I just had these new groovy cards made up. It's my Dead Mouse.
Dead Mouse, awesome.
I did T-shirts for Dead Mouse. This is my sort of my steampunk Dead Mouse. It's, yeah, they're just these groovy cards, and I'm sending them out. I think good old-fashioned postcards can go a long way because people get so much email and so much crap in their inbox, and when you get something cool that you can actually stick up on the wall, and you know, that's a good thing. And I've gone into people's offices and seen cards that I designed and sent them years ago, and see something still up on the wall, and I was just like, yes.
There's something when something's tangible that you can hold and you can feel the weight to it.
Oh yeah.
There's something magic about that.
I love doing that with, you know, some of the special packaging and stuff that I do.
Yeah.
You know, there's like you know, this is a Hank Williams box, and it opens up and it has 17 discs in it.
No way.
It's all his old radio shows, but the cool thing about, you know,
that is so good.
So it's his old radio show intro, and it plays his stuff, and then it's got the back of the radio. But yeah, and this is like a fabric. It's embossed down here. It's all very textural, and I love textures and different materials when I can use them.
Yeah.
That's
almost going into like product design.
Oh yeah.
You know?
Yeah, I you know, get into a little bit of that kind of stuff when I can, and it's nice to make things that are really, you know, really stand out like that. Stuff that's a little different. Like, I don't know if you can see it back there. Oh no, this is
yeah, I saw that on the
that's
side.
another box set. This, but this actually has a working amplifier in it.
Excellent.
If you look, it's right in there,
That's
and you
so
can plug
good.
it. You can plug. If you look on the website, there's a clip of Angus from AC/DC playing on a stack of these.
No way.
Like a whole wall of them. It's pretty cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
dude.
it's nice to, you know, I love kind of building stuff up that's a little more than just a regular
Yeah.
package.
Oh, I like that a lot. That's awesome.
Mhm.
That's so far the best lightning round answer. There you go. Favorite project management tip?
Get it done. Just you know, it's like a lot of times for me, it's like you're there and there's one of those machines shooting tennis balls at you.
Yeah.
Like that, and a lot of the time I just got to get the ball in the other person's court.
Yeah.
And you know, I do have a problem with that sometimes, where like somebody will come to me and they say, well, I need this, I'm in no big rush and whatever, and it's just like, and a lot of times it'll hang on the back burner for too long, and I'm like, I got to deal with that. I got to just do it.
Yeah.
And
well, on that,
you got to keep things moving, and then you also got to keep hustling and trying to find more work.
On the flip side of that, how do you keep customers on track?
I try to, if I find I haven't heard from them in a while or something, if I've sent them, you know, I'll send them a friendly little email, I'll send them another one, then I'll call them, you know, and you really got to stay on top of them.
Yeah.
And you know, sometimes they're just really, you know, everybody's busy. You know, I have this one guy, and he's just like, I send him stuff and I just don't hear from him for days or weeks, and I reach back, he's like, oh, and then he'll like pour stuff all over me. I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
Just let's get this done, get it out, and then see what's next.
Yeah.
But you really have to, you know, you got to have your lists and prioritize all that stuff, you know, and figure out those things that have to get done.
Yeah.
And well, it's kind of sink or swim.
Do you have a referral process or like a referral system, or?
I don't really have a system for that.
No.
You know, I just, you know, I actually will ask clients if they have anyone else they work with that would ever be in need of what I do. And, you know, I kind of try to be real straightforward with people, and you know, ask them or whatever. And these postcards I've been sending out, I've been getting, I've been just writing really weird personal notes to people that I know.
That's awesome.
You know, just like, oh, hold on. I don't know. Sometimes they're weird. It'll be just like, you know, this is to one of my old teachers, but it's just like, "Psst, hey, Alice.
Oh, that's cool.
I'll give Joe my best." You know, it's just like little things like that. But other ones I'll just say, you know, you don't know me, but that's okay.
Yeah.
You know, I just want to give you a heads up in case you're ever looking for some groovy design mojo.
Yeah.
Feel free to give me a call. And I don't know, some of these people may be a little more businessier than than I like, and they might say, "God, who is this terribly unprofessional guy?"
Yeah.
You know, it's just like if they're looking for a guy to come in with a contract time frame sheets and proposal lists and all these little documents and hourly breakdowns of everything, that's not me. I'm like, I like to work on a project as a project. You know, I don't like billing hourly, and I just like to, you know.
That's kind of like almost like a qualifier, because if they don't respond to how you're giving your information out, then surely you know that they're not right for you. Then that's kind of, I mean, that's a, you know.
Mm-hmm. I was really happy. I've gotten a couple responses
that's
now.
awesome.
Somebody came back to me. They want me to write an article on
cool.
the death of music packaging for a
Really?
design. So I'm like, all right, awesome.
Yeah.
Well, it has been dying.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Yeah, I was just talking to somebody about this. I was like, what was the last really great album cover in the past 10 years that you can remember? You know, it's like,
I honestly don't think in the last 10 years I've even looked at an album cover.
That's just it. They're getting smaller and smaller, and they're just not as important because now they're just some individual songs and files. Yeah. And but then you think back to, you know, some of those great ones from the, you know, late 60s, early 70s, and that's
well, even now, like, I remember when we were at college, you know, well, this is funny. If I was having a conversation, my brother's a musician, he's a DJ, but he's one of those super annoying people that can just pick up an instrument, you know. And we were saying how kids don't want to be in bands anymore. They want to have a laptop and a keyboard. And I was like, man, I used to love, you know, going and playing on the drums and having my mates on like guitars and stuff. And they don't want to do that anymore. Yet alone, even touch an instrument.
See, my son is 13, and he's a phenomenally talented bass player.
Awesome.
He has a band, the F-Bombs. He's a band thing at school where they're doing. I'm suggesting they call themselves Squatch.
Excellent.
Sort of a Sasquatch thing.
Yeah.
He's also in the School of Rock, so he's working on a Hendrix show, and he might be joining their house band, which would be another awesome thing. And he's really, you know, he's 13 and he loves, you know, Zeppelin and the Foo Fighters and Nirvana, and he's got really great. But he also loves messing around with electronic stuff. You know, when I was working on the Dead Mouse shirts, he would be sitting there listening while I'm listening and working, and he all of a sudden he's playing it on the keyboard. He figures it out, breaks it down, and he can do that. He can hear something and play it.
Do you think part of that's come from the fact that, I mean, look at the industry that you've come from. Surely you are surrounded by music non-stop.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I'm always, you know, when we drove around, I wasn't, you know, pulling any punches and playing the Wiggles in the car. Playing Sex Pistols and whatever, and it's he gets a little annoyed if I make a comment assuming he doesn't know something about music. It's like, I'm not stupid. I know who John Bonham is.
Yeah,
you know?
That's awesome.
And that's pretty funny. So he's all excited because he's going to probably play War Pigs by Black Sabbath at school. So I'm like, yeah. So it's nice because I get to see that stuff and experience it through him.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool.
You know, and it's awesome.
That's pretty cool. All right, final lightning round question. Longest one yet. We'll wrap it up because I know it's gone way over 45. How do businesses differentiate themselves? How do you be unique?
Well, I'm kind of a weird guy, and I you know, I think I have an unusual view of work, and maybe it's the Smay factor. Who knows? People, you know, and you know, I find people when they're looking for something that's a little out there, because I definitely have a very rock and roll vibe to everything I do,
Sure.
even when it's not music stuff. And I have a knack for sort of psychedelic typography and
That's
stuff
cool.
like that.
Yeah, I've seen some of your stuff.
Yeah, I have the. This was a little Janis Joplin.
That's cool. Yeah.
It's a set of 45 singles.
Wow.
And these were all designed to look like old 40.
Yeah.
These are all. I designed each one of these as well, and they actually people at the record company were like, I never saw these. When did these come out? They actually thought they were real vintage singles.
That's a good sign.
But I like to, I don't know if I intentionally, position myself to be different. It's just sort of the way I am, and I think I do stand out because a lot of people are kind of uptight, and I just kind of go with my gut on things, and I'm easy to work with, and I think that's another big perk.
But that boils down to, again, people, right? I mean, what you're selling comes second to whether someone wants to be able to sit down. And I think it's a big sale if you can go and have a beer with someone.
Oh, yeah. That's fine. I need to do that. I need to go head into the city and grease some connections and keep them lubricated.
Awesome. Well, that was the lightning round.
Okay.
Longest,
awesome.
But most interesting yet, I might add.
I hope so. I
okay.
aim to please.
That was good. What's the future of your business? Where do you see the future of your business?
Well, hopefully I'll be able to go on a sabbatical so I can go on Survivor if I ever get picked. Yep. I'm still, I'm very much print oriented. I don't do any web stuff.
Okay.
And that's also maybe something that differentiates.
Yeah, very much so. Yeah.
But I just never had the drive to go in that direction. I like that doing print stuff. I can still do stuff by hand and make things off the computer and then bring them in. I like to do stuff that's has a handcrafted feel to it. Yep. But as for the future, I am not sure. I mean, I'm kind of branching out into some different stuff. I'm starting to try to do some writing projects. I have a couple little novel ideas that I have in the works.
Yep.
So I'm trying to do that. Me and my wife are working on some children's book ideas.
Oh, cool.
So we'll see where that goes. But I would definitely love to change things up because 20 years is a long time to be doing something.
Particularly one thing.
Yeah.
That's almost unheard of now. It's like an institution now.
I know, it's weird. I know. Guess I'm going to be institutionalized.
That's the end of your career. Yeah, I went to a loony bin. There you go.
Yep.
What about the future of graphic design in general?
Well, I think it's always going to be there. I mean, I think things are going to be definitely a lot more stuff for the phone and the small screen and all that. But there's always going to be printed matter, and one way or another. And I think people still like that. People like to be able to pick up an album, and that's why there's a nice resurgence of vinyl. People are and I'm happy to be buying vinyl again and actually going out of my way to do it.
Yeah.
It's cool.
So Phil is again very generously giving away the midnight show.
Midnight special.
Midnight special, midnight special. Awesome. What we usually do is get people to comment in the comments below for a chance to enter, and we'll kind of go through that, or I'll go through them. If you're getting into writing, I don't know. Basically, I want people to get involved with the comments below. What do you want to see people talking about in the comments below?
Well, I don't know. I'm just interested to see what they what we're talking about kind of sparks in them.
Okay.
If there are people that kids are looking to get into doing this sort of thing, or people that are doing it, and I'm always happy to help people out. I get emails out of nowhere from like LinkedIn or Behance of people in Brazil, or I've had students from England asking, sending me things. Hey,
Wow.
I'm doing a project for this. Can you help me out with your thoughts on
Awesome.
on whatever? And I'm like, yeah, sure. Because I remember what it was like to be out of school and looking for people that would look at my stuff or listen to me. And
Yeah.
you know, when someone would, and they would be engaged and be able to say, you know, yeah, sure, what do you need, you know, and that's I love being able to kind of connect with people.
Okay.
And that sort of thing.
Well, I tell you what, guys, in the comments below, why don't you tell us one thing that you took away from this interview? I mean, there's a ton of stuff that I'd be able to write about myself. What's the one thing that kind of spoke out to you? We'll go through that get that prize out to you, which is epic. How can people reach out to you?
Well, there's a link on the website. Phil, or my email is phil@smaydesign.com. But yeah, that's
here we go.
It's on there somewhere.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's phil@smaydesign.com. And yeah, I'm like I said, you know, a lot of times I'll have people say, you know, what do you think of this? Or, you know, kids getting out of college and they just want to run stuff by you. And I'm like, totally.
Well, I was, to be honest, I was pretty surprised that you sort of reached out on LinkedIn and said, hey, I'd love to, you know, have a chat and stuff like that. Because, and then the weird thing is I looked at some of your stuff and I was like, oh my God, he's like the real deal. Like he does like actual work. And it was a bit almost intimidating coming back to it. And then I find that I get so much backlash from people, and I'm like, buddy, I just want to interview. I'm not trying to sleep with your wife or anything, you know. So yeah, I can fully vouch for Phil being a lovely chap. Awesome. Any ideas who I should interview next?
Ooh, that's a tough one. I mean, I was thinking about that, trying to figure out who, you know, who's who of interest. I think. I don't know. I mean, do you have a target audience for?
Basically, the people who are listening to this are digital creative freelancers, usually, or other professionals, right. And they need people to look up to about how to run their business, how to get better quality customers, you know, or even just do stuff like generate leads. I don't know. Right.
Well, that's a tricky one. I mean, it's just like because. Like I said, I kind of lay low and I don't get out and see a lot of people. So, but you know, I have people I've dealt with. You know, I have a guy that I went to college with who he's in college. He was a bit of a loose cannon. He was like tie-dye shirt, like whoa man. But now he's like pinky ring and is like
yeah.
So he's like, I remember the Chamber of Commerce. And you know, he's a good guy and all, and he knows what he's doing, and he's involved in, you know, intellectual properties and all that kind of stuff.
Wow.
I could send you his info if that's something, or you know, it'd be cool to talk to like a really successful, you know, tattoo artist, because I think
that'd be cool.
Different creatives are cool. You know,
dude, that'd be awesome.
Yeah, there's my.
Oh, that's cool. Is it like a sugar skull? I can't really see on this.
No, it's a Tibetan water.
That's cool.
Pattern. But yeah, I love, you know, hearing what creative people, you know, are doing and what makes them tick. Yeah. And I think that's really cool. Even if it doesn't directly apply to what you do, it's always rewarding to you know.
Yeah.
Well, hear from these people.
If you have email addresses for either of them or something, I don't know, send them over. That'd be awesome. That'd be really
awesome. I'll see what I can do. I'd have to stew on a couple of those folks, but I'll send them your way and see what I can come up with.
Awesome. In the meantime, thank you so much for your time. It's been absolutely excellent. Really valuable. I hope you had a good time too.
Yeah, it was great. It's great.
Excellent. Cool.
Just
okay then.
Sneak out then and walk my dog.
Perfect plan. Okay, I'll speak to you later then. Cheers then. Bye.
Yeah. All right. Be cool. Take it easy.
How awesome was that? I absolutely loved talking to Phil. Something really refreshing about his attitude, saying that he wasn't, you know, focused on generating leads or having pitch meetings or anything like that. He's a genuine graphic designer, and he understands kind of that relationship between how people communicate with the work and bits and pieces like that. I think the biggest takeaway that I took from him is just do something that you enjoy doing, and if you're a good person and you do good work, you'll be rewarded with better customers. Remember the competition to win the Midnight Special DVD Special Edition set, as well as the packaging that Phil designed. All you need to do is get involved in the comments below. In the meantime, stick around, because next week, if I look it up, we have got Mark Warden who is not only a digital marketing company based in the UK, but he also specialises amongst 2 or 3 things, and we're going to be talking to him about email marketing and how to absolutely dominate that. Thanks very much. I've been Mike Killen. Bye now.